basically the setup to the fusion and the Frieza and fight.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, it's funny. We knew a troll move was coming though with the 5 centimeters. I'll just say, me and Linux, we were expecting. That's how they got us in Battle of Gods. Is like we thought it was gonna be the serious thing, and it was all over pudding. But this was serious for that most part. But yeah, they catch us off guard with the Frieza 5 centimeters, and the parallels between him and Bulma was great. So yeah, Frieza basically gets a 1 hour or so beat down from Broly. I love when he's in his golden form and he's like, "How dare you make me go ahead and exhaust myself?" Goes golden Frieza and boom, still keeps getting his butt kicked by Broly. That was cracking up.
What makes that even better is the scene. Because even when he powers up, he's like, "Here, I'll show you true terror. This will be the last thing you ever see." And then you pan back, he is getting beat the hell up.
And I like how Whis is just sitting there. I would have been great if they would have had Whis take a rock and form some popcorn and just enjoy it. That would have been excellent.
Can we talk about how Whis has the best lines? Just the simple "oh my."
We'll definitely get to that in our next segment. But with Goku and Vegeta, they're learning the fusion. Sabin once again get a great job, I thought, when he goes like Piccolo. Him and Piccolo did a perfect fusion and didn't fuse. I thought that was always interesting. But Vegeta, he goes
I think they have to have the energy the same.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they don't channel any key, they won't fuse.
Gotcha, yep. And Vegeta basically goes like, "That's what you have to do? I'd rather have Broly killed me." That high pitch that Sabin did. Oh, it was great. And Goku played the guilt card on him. You don't want Brawl, Trunks, and Bulma to die. He blushes.
Don't you try to guilt trip me into this.
Yeah. And they did the fusion. I love the callback to Veku. What was it? Veku and the skinnier version of Gogeta. And they're just going back and forth. There were people complaining about the animation of the scene because it was so loose and the anatomy was wonky, but I think that was the point of the scene. They wanted this to look laughing. That's the reason why they didn't draw it. I mean, yeah, it took them a lot quicker because it wasn't that much detail, but the scene wasn't really meant to be taken that seriously.
Right.
No,
I agree.
The pose
Oh, Vegeta did? Yeah.
Yo,
and how he just stood there.
That pose is legendary. He was like, "Fusion? Wait a minute. I think I've heard the boys talk about that. Isn't that where we do some kind of dance?" And then he just leans back. I was like, what?
Hey, I like Piccolo. Cool that Toriyama still found enough love for Piccolo to give him some importance in this movie. And he goes like, I think they fuse, he's like, "Pathetic. Your angle was off," and they actually show the 40%, 60% angle. Oh, that was great. I like when Goku and Vegeta finally fuse and they acknowledge that they've done Vegito because this is his first time through Toriyama's continuity that he's been in the series, and he's like, "It was Vegito, was it not?" And then he goes like, "Maybe we should find a good name, maybe Gogeta, Go Vegeta." Here's the name of a bunch of random names. He's like, it was like, "We don't have time for this." And I said, "Like father, like son." And then he do the instantaneous transmission back to the battlefield, and that's where we saw Whis I was in the theater at I was like, "Oh, don't try to step the Whis, Broly. Don't try to step with Whis." And Whis is toying with him, and he's like, "Oh my, you almost got me there." And then he sees Gogeta. "Oh my," right? And he leaves after Frieza had got his butt kicked, and he's like pinned in the back. He's pinned similar to the same way Goku was pinned at the end of the first Broly movie. And I love Frieza's response to Gogeta. "Who are you?" And he's like, "You wouldn't understand. You were dead. But basically, Kakarot and Vegeta have fused together to become one warrior." No fair.
It's how casually. What makes it even better is how casually he says it. Because he's like, "Wait, you what?" "Yeah, we fused our powers together." And he's like, "Oh, that's not fair."
I loved it because now Frieza sees that there's even more further gaps between the powers he has.
Right?
It's almost like he was expecting that to happen.
Right.
Like, wait, yeah, that's not fair.
Before we get to the main event, Kat, I know you mentioned about Whis being how casual he was with his lines. So any final thoughts here between the fusion and the Frieza Broly?
Absolutely. First, I really, really love Ian Sinclair's Whis. We didn't talk about it either, but Jason Douglas's Beerus. Right. They make such a great Beerus and Whis. And Whis' personality is great. He's someone who doesn't seem to take things too seriously. However, he knows when things, are getting pretty drastic. But he plays his role as an angel very well. And just his oh my's, those are so good because Whis is the strongest, right? He trained Beerus, and for this universe, he's probably the strongest fighter. That, you know, we still haven't really gotten to all the background of that, so I don't know how true or not true that is, but as of right now that I know of, Whis is very strong. And seeing him just subtly dodging Broly, but he also has to be somewhat attentive. He can't just, you know, not to Naruto this out, but Kakashi himself and read a book while he's getting fought. He has to pay attention. And his oh my's are giving you more hints of just how strong Broly is. At this point, Broly is just everywhere. He is just fighting. You see why his power is such a threat, because just as the Great Ozaru form, he has no control over it. Absolutely no control, and he is going crazy. He's fighting Freeza, and that's comical because we get to see Freeza getting his just desserts. Like, oh, Freeza, you thought that you had a weapon, but this weapon is not very, you can't really control it like you think you can. And the fusion, now the only gripe I have about the fusion is that I felt that it played on the Gotenks fusion a little bit too much. I would have liked to see some different variation of a failed Gogeta. I don't know, I guess, what else they could have done, but it was very like to the T, the same as what happens with Gotenks. First they're extremely fat, then they're old, and then bam, they get it right. I would have liked to see something a little bit differently, but it still wasn't that big of a deal that it takes away from the scene for me. Mm-hmm. And my last thought is how good they did the voices. It was like melody. As soon as I heard it, I got chills. It was so perfectly intertwined. Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat's voice already worked well together for me, but when I think about like how they sounded
back in DBZ.
Yeah, in DBZ and Super, it just sounded like two voices on top of each other. But this sounded like one simultaneous voice. It's what I would expect if someone was saying, "Give me a God voice." It's like a bunch of different voices into one, but synced so perfectly.
It's almost as if they both were in the booth reading off the same line into the same microphone.
Yeah, it was. It was like a piano chord. It was beautiful, and little things like that really make you see how long these people have been working on Dragon Ball. Like Chris Sabat and Sean Schemmel have both been there since the beginning. They are the original actors since day one of the dub. Well, not day one for Sean Schemmel, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. They've been there for so long, and we've seen them go through the initial, I'm just testing around with his character. And here they are at their prime. Chris Sabat, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite voice actors, is in his prime of voice acting. And him and Schemmel just really nail Gogeta. And I love how, like, Vegito, you can see that he's prominently Vegeta. He has that very cocky sort of mentality, how Vegeta has. And I love how Gogeta is primarily Goku. So he's, you've been dead a long time. Who does that sound like? That sounds like Goku. That sounds like something Goku would say in just a run-of-the-mill conversation. So I really loved that.
Nice. Linux, before we get to the main event here, any added thoughts you want to add on about the Freeza and Broly and the fusion?
Well, she basically touched on what I was going to touch on with the voice, because that shout outs to whoever that sound engineer was.
Yeah.
And big props to Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat, primarily because even as good as the sound engineer was to do the overlay for that, mm-hmm. they still had to match each other in pitch and tone,
in motion,
every single time to get that perfectly. Like, they could have done the lines, but if somebody does too much emotion, it's literally like they had to fuse to do it. It's scary how good those voice clips are, but definitely big shout out to that. I like the like father, like son, Gogeta, Gotenks. Like, yeah. This is literally Gotenks.
This is the first time Toriyama wrote Gogeta, so yeah, it felt more Toriyama-like.
Like, I love that. I loved how you literally got the just uber cockiness of both Goku and Vegeta put together, and it showed. It showed. It's no different than Trunks and Gotenks when they fuse. Trunks and Goten when they fuse for Gotenks. You got the exact same thing with Gogeta. And it's even, what made it even funny is just the little quirks he does when he's fighting Broly. Like the surf along that cannon that gets shot at him. Like, what?
Well, hey, we'll be getting into the main event here, so we can do it for that one. So yeah, we get to the main event. What they spoiled in the 4th or 5th trailer for this, Gogeta versus Broly. I'm gonna still stand with what I said. I didn't think it was necessary for Gogeta. I thought Broly was enough of the draw for this. They didn't have to spoil it for Gogeta, but they did anyways. But they definitely did not give away everything that was going to happen in the fight. But I think it would have been a really great moment to be in that audience and hear everyone pop for the fact that we realized Gogeta, because it just would have been this sense of like, how the heck are they going to beat Broly? And when they found out Gogeta, would have made an awesome surprise. But hey, shout out. I remember I heard Team 4-Star in their review. They said shout out to the one guy that didn't know, because they said when they announced they were doing Fusion, they said there was one guy in the back that was like, what? Gogeta's coming in this movie? And they says, whatever you do, which is most likely probably staying off the internet or living under a rock, sir, they said we salute to you, because this guy went in the movie with no idea that Gogeta was in the movie. It got spoiled for us.
Hey everybody, SONGOSHUAKU'S here!
If you enjoyed this sound clip, click the link here in the video to listen to our full podcast review of Dragon Ball Super Broly. Also, links to all our social media is in the description below. Lastly, subscribe, followed by hitting the notification bell so that way you are notified as soon as my content is released.